Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our Clean Air webinar series. We thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. These webinars are developed in collaboration between Alberta Capital Airshed and West Central Airshed Society. My name is Selena Fairbank, and I am the Engagement Coordinator for ACA, and I will be your facilitator today. Our webinar is titled Air Quality 101 for Municipal Leaders. This session is designed to give municipal decision makers a clear, practical understanding of local air quality issues. We will explore how municipalities can effectively work with your airshed to support healthier communities. So while today's webinar will focus on the work we do at Alberta Capital Airshed and West Central Airshed Society, we recognize that we have attendees from across Alberta, BC, and beyond. So we hope this session equips you with a clear understanding of air quality and provides practical insight you can take back to your community or organization to strengthen local approaches to air quality management. I am delighted to introduce our three speakers who have joined us to share their expertise and experiences. First, we'll hear from Colton Narabeski, the Membership Coordinator at ACA and WestCAS. Also joining us today, we have Dr. Kevin McCullum, our Lead Scientist and Data Manager at ACA and WestCAS, and Jocelyn Thrasher-Haug, Manager of Agriculture and Environment at Strathcona County and ACA's Board President. Before we begin our presentations, I'll just share a little bit of information about our airsheds. ACA and WestCAS are not-for-profit, multi-stakeholder organizations responsible for monitoring outdoor air quality in our respective regions. The data we collect at our continuous monitoring stations is publicly reported and used to calculate the Local Air Quality Health Index, or AQHI, for many communities. You'll hear more about both airsheds from all our speakers today. To promote air quality awareness and address local concerns, ACA and WestCAS offer outreach and educational opportunities, including this webinar series. To learn more and to listen to recordings of past webinar series, you can visit our websites, capitalairshed.ca or wcas.ca. I'd also like to acknowledge that Alberta Capital Airshed is located on Treaty 6 territory, and West Central Airshed Society is on Treaty 6 and 8 territories, the traditional and ancestral territory of many First Nations, including the Cree, Dene, Blackfoot, Saulteaux, and Nakota Sioux. We acknowledge that this territory is home to the Métis Nation of Alberta. We acknowledge our part in treaty by being thoughtful about the air we breathe and how we can work to ensure it is healthy and life-giving for our Earth, the current generation, and for many generations to come. I invite you to take a moment to consider the land and air from which you join us today. Some housekeeping for today's webinar. The webinar will last for approximately 60 minutes. Each panelist will do a short presentation, and then we will open the floor to your questions. You can register your questions at any time using the Q&A feature, and they will be addressed following the presentations. The webinar is being recorded, and the recording link will be distributed to everyone who registered within the coming days and also available from our websites. We will also add any links to resources that are discussed today on the webinar webpage. And please feel free to share the recording with anyone who may be interested. With that, we'll begin with our first presentation. I'd like to say a warm welcome to Colton Narabeski. Colton is our Membership Coordinator for both Alberta Capital Airshed and West Central Airshed Society. Colton has a marketing background and a strong ability to engage stakeholders and support meaningful organizational change. Colton believes that better access to information helps everyone play a role in protecting our environment now and for future generations. Thank you for joining us today, Colton.
Lovely. Thank you, Selena. I'm just going to share a screen here so we can get things kicked off. So today we're going to talk a little bit about what airsheds are and what airsheds we work for. So the Alberta Capital Airshed and West Central Airshed Society, what we offer in terms of resources and tools. So to open up the topic, it's really important that we talk about what air quality is. We need to define the term air quality so that we're all speaking the same language, so to speak. So air quality is a measure of how clean the air is around us. It's determined by many pollutants, how many pollutants are released into the atmosphere, and how well these pollutants are dispersed. So this is influenced by factors like wind speed and direction, sometimes temperature, the shape of the land. So if you think topography like valleys or hills, all of these factors affect how pollutants move and how long they linger in the air. So why does air quality matter? We all breathe the same air, And air quality affects everyone every day, regardless of your age or background. There are significant health impacts associated with poor air quality, which I'll get a little bit more into on the next slide. But we also see vulnerable populations at a higher risk, and not everybody is impacted equally. So, air quality can impact our daily life. During poor air quality events, we may have to limit outdoor activities and sports. It can affect school and work attendance, and it can also drive up healthcare visits and costs to our healthcare systems. Importantly, as you may be aware, we're seeing an increase in the frequency of poor air quality days, especially due to wildfires and climate change. So we talked about health impacts. There are a lot of different health effects that are linked to poor air quality, and these, may include respiratory and cardiovascular effects, such as increased asthma attacks and bronchitis, worsening of COPD, and higher risk of heart attacks and strokes. It can affect neurological and brain health. In fact, we're seeing increased risks of cognitive decline and dementia, especially in older adults, but also links to depression and anxiety disorders. So, research is showing that the impacts on reproductive and fetal health, immune and metabolic effects, are all correlated with poor air quality, as well as increased cancer risk. And this is another term that people use, but I think it's important that we talk about what populations are. Vulnerable populations are definitely more affected by poor air quality, and they include children and infants because they have smaller lungs, they have higher respiratory rates, they breathe faster, and they also have developing organs. But this vulnerable populations designation also includes older adults and seniors due to age-related decline in immune and respiratory function. It includes people with chronic respiratory conditions, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, other chronic illnesses, also pregnant individuals and unborn babies, outdoor workers. So think like construction workers, landscapers, people who are working outdoors with prolonged exposure, athletes and active individuals who are looking to exercise outdoors. They might have increased inhalation of pollutants due to deeper, heavier, faster breathing. And low income and marginalized communities, as they often live closer to pollution sources, and they also may lack access to healthcare resources. So we'll talk a bit about what air quality is, different types of populations, and the effect of air quality. Let's look at what an airshed is and how we monitor and manage air quality locally. So this brings us to the concept of airsheds kind of as a higher level topic, the 10 regional zones across Alberta that help us understand and address air quality. Just as I was opening the presentation, the sound was not able to be shared. So here's a video that we have available, but it is not going to share the sound. So I'm just going to here. Basically, airsheds are nonprofit, multi-stakeholder organizations that monitor local air quality by measuring air pollutants and weather conditions. Airsheds report and share data with government, Indigenous communities, academics, the public, industries, and other stakeholders. Our network of monitoring stations collects data that is used to determine the air quality health index for many communities. And we also actively engage with those communities to raise air quality awareness, share data through knowledge translation, and to provide education. So Westcast and ACA, the two airsheds that we represent, are two of the 10 airsheds within Alberta, and all 10 airsheds form the Alberta Airsheds Council. Together, airsheds operate over 90 continuous monitoring stations and hundreds of other monitoring sites that measure a variety of quality parameters using an assortment of monitoring technologies, which we'll speak about, or Dr. Kevin McCollum will speak about here in a few minutes as well. It is interesting to note that currently over 85% of Alberta's population lives within an airshed. So if we look at the boundaries of the two airsheds that we're representing here today, Alberta Capital Airshed and West Central Airshed Society, these maps are available on both websites if you wanted to see the boundaries and see which sensors are available. This is just kind of a high-level overview showing particularly ACA covers the capital region, as well as Strathcona area and further up northwest into the Athabasca region. And West Central Airshed Society is really everything between the western boundary of ACA all the way towards the BC border, as well as upwards north towards the municipal district of Lesser Silver. So another tool available to the public is our ACA and Westcast live data maps on our websites. Our live data map provides up-to-the-minute information about the air that you breathe in our region. And you can find the AQHI for the nearest station, and you can explore fine particulate matter from our network of local monitors, which gives a detailed picture of air quality at the neighborhood level. So you can also access real-time air quality monitoring data from our continuous monitoring stations. So you see these dials here. These are representative of some of the data parameters that you'll be able to see when you click on those stations. And they provide detailed measurements of key pollutants like ozone, nitrogen dioxide, fine particulate matter. Things that we as airsheds do that I think is really important is we have a robust education and outreach program, and we engage with our community quite a bit. And so we're involved in a lot of different events. We engage with our members, municipalities, and industry and government members, public members in many different ways. We attend a lot of our members' events throughout the year, and we share information about the airsheds and air quality. We have a lot of free air quality educational resources available for teachers, and these are on our website. We host clean air webinars, such as today's, for example, throughout the year, and we touch on various air quality topics of interest. The recordings are always available online. We have quite a roster of experts and important figures in the communities that we represent that join us on these webinars. And it's a really good opportunity to connect and learn more, not just about air quality, about day-to-day stories and different goings on and processes that are involved with managing air quality for communities. We're also on social media. You can find us on Instagram, on X, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And we have a monthly newsletter that goes out for both airsheds individually that you're welcome to sign up for. And just recently, at the beginning of this past November, we hosted our 4th Clean Air Forum, which was a conference that we host, providing the opportunity for information exchange and dialogue amongst air quality stakeholders. We work with partners in ways like this, providing air quality information to the public, and you can always find more information about different goings on and things that we're up to in upcoming events on our websites, capitalairshed.ca and wcas.ca. In addition to some of those things, we also have a lot of different resources available. A lot of it pertains to one in particular that just launched not too long ago is the Community Guide to Wildfire Smoke and Health. It is a members-only resource. So for municipalities that are members or private industry members, they're able to access this on our portal. But the guide is designed to support Alberta's municipalities, organizations, businesses, schools, and community members in planning for and responding to wildfire smoke events. It offers a lot of different practical tips for communication, public education, and also actionable steps to strengthen community resilience in managing the impact of wildfire smoke. I think all of us living in Alberta and across the western part of the country would agree that there is increasing concerns coming from exposure to wildfire smoke, and it is something that, as an airshed, if we're able to provide that information to our members to help them manage that within their publics and their communities, that's something that's very important, and we'd like to offer that resource. As airsheds, we have a really talented team of technicians, and we have a fairly robust collection of equipment and resources and tools available to offer different services. And so these would be services that are above and beyond just kind of but they incorporate things like air quality operations and monitoring. So for instance, if there were you could say events or fence line monitoring requirements, or there was a gap in a community, for example, where you wanted some special monitoring services, this is something that our airshed teams can come together and provide. We also offer air quality assessment and modeling. So this is particularly important for regulatory support, but also if there is, for instance, different types of emissions or concerns for air quality in different communities, we can provide modeling to show time, direction, and flow and density of different parameters, which could be useful for making basically different processes to manage that air quality. We also offer communication and engagement services. So helping to make air quality understandable, actionable, meaningful to stakeholders. This is things like the outdoor event air quality support. So communications services at those events for public-facing purposes, creating resources for written or online use, video creation, online training accreditation is one of the things that we're working on, and public education and outreach. So if there are events where we can be of support, and we can bring a team out to speak to different participants or attendees at an event. That's something that we offer as well. So the airsheds at a very high level, we're involved in the monitoring side, absolutely, and making sure that we have really excellent technology and people monitoring air quality and air parameters, or sorry, air pollution parameters. But I think in terms of some of the value that we're able to bring to communities, especially, and making sure that we're present, we have a lot of experience in the outreach space and engagement, and we're really comfortable speaking with public and being kind of the team on the ground that's there to interface between the technical side of things and translating that knowledge for the public. So, yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Colton. I really hope everyone watching gained a better understanding of how airsheds can help you in your community and municipality. Before we move on to our next speaker, I'm just going to share a really short airshed commercial, kind of building off what Colton was wrapping up with there. We do have a full suite of air quality services. These are designed to support industry, government, and community partners across operations, assessment, and public engagement. So whether you're managing compliance, planning for growth, or preparing your team and the public for air quality impacts, we can help. These services are available to both members and non-members. This includes members, our industry, and municipalities, and it is at a competitive price. So you can learn more about our services on our website, capitalairshed.ca/services. With that, we're going to turn it over to our next presenter, Dr. Kevin McCollum. Kevin is the data manager for ACA and Westcast. He is a senior engineer and accredited as a PEng across multiple jurisdictions, with a specialty in environmental monitoring and modeling. His focus is on air quality data analysis and interpretation, monitoring sensors, as well as dispersion and transport modeling. So welcome, Kevin.
Thanks, Selena. Everyone can see the screen, I hope. It's there. I just wanted to present some of the Air Quality 101 from a perspective of background. So when we start to look at all of the data that we have collected and as we move forward, there's a lot of information to impact on this. So what you're seeing is a lot of verbiage on slides, but it's meant more for a takeaway so that you can have these presentations after and see what the information is and use what you can from it. So just at a very high level, air quality, what does it mean to us? Well, we breathe almost a small swimming pool every day. So when you consider even this short presentation, you're going to breathe about 225 times during this next 15 minutes. So it gives you a good indication of just how much we need air. From the perspective of really what is air, we know that air is primarily, or the atmosphere is primarily comprised of nitrogen and oxygen. That's 99% of our atmosphere. There's 1%, though, that actually is a cornucopia of everything else. So it has all of the trace gases, it has all of the extra critical importance that we have of the pollutants and how it impacts on everything else that's within the atmosphere. So it seems rather small fraction, but it actually is a great impact to us. Overall, when we see how this runs, we ask ourselves, what is really the impact of air quality? Most of the stuff that we can deal with or actually have direct contact with is the human sources. So it's everything from our transportation to industrial to power generation to home heating and all of the other pieces that we have involved. There's also the natural sources piece of it. So Colton had identified the forest fire, and we know that we've been seeing increases in that over the last several years. So we have the forest fire, PM 2.5 is the primary one that we look at from that. But we also have anything from dust, not necessarily the dust storms per se, but we definitely have it during agricultural practices, so harvesting and seeding as well. We also have just general emissions from volcanic eruptions. So we have natural sources that are there for us, but intuitively we have to consider that most of the pollutions that we're involved with is around higher population densities. So we have more transportation emissions, we have more activities, more industrial activities, and so forth in those areas. So when we actually ask ourselves and say, what is air pollution? One of the big things that we look at is that any substance in the air that can harm people, animals, plants, or materials. So it really comes in two forms. We have gases and we have particulates. And so the particulates that we have that are out there are the fine particulates that we concern ourselves with the most. But the gases are everything from ozone, our nitrogen dioxide, our sulfur dioxide, and our carbon monoxide, some of the criteria air contaminants that we deal with. We also have a whole host of others. So the total reduced sulfur, hydrogen sulfide, the nitric oxides, the total hydrocarbons, methane, non-methane hydrocarbons, benzene, toluene, ethylene, xylene, and a whole host of VOCs. I can list all 160 if you want, but I think we'll be here longer than our time allotment. So we focus more on the fine particulate because that's one of the things that we tend to look at where our concern is and where it's actually posing the greatest risk for us. In that, it's kind of the tongue in cheek. It's the tiny stuff that's the problem. So it's really understanding where this impacts. So we know that the PM 2.5 is almost a 30th of the size of a width of a human hair. So these particles are extremely small, and often that when we inhale them, they can get deep into our lungs and actually potentially move into our bloodstream. So we are starting to look now even at the PM 2.5 is too large. So we're going down to the PM1 and PM 0.1 just to see what kind of chemical compounds and mixtures that are in there and impacting us from that perspective. So the health concern that Colton had raised again, this is one of the ones that really triggers some of the concerns for us. So when air quality is poor, especially during forest fires, everyone has that feeling, that burning sensation in the back of your throat. And that's one of the things that really triggers it. Put it in perspective of just another viewpoint. Everybody knows the size of a millimeter off of a ruler. So if we look at the size of 1 millimeter, we know that we've got 1,000 microns or 1,000 micrometers that are in there. And even getting to the point where it's over 1 million nanometers in the same space. So we measure down to some of these levels in order to get a sense of what we're seeing. When we start to look at some of these very small compounds, you're getting down into stretching almost to the molecular level when we start to measure some of our compounds. We often joke about it that even at the nanometer size, we still have 5 more regions to go down into. So, but I won't bore everyone with that one. So why is the wildfire smoke so important for us, or why is it unique that we're concerned? It really is just one of those ones that represents severe impacts. It can build up very quickly and it can dissipate as quickly. So it's one of those pieces that moves in as we see the plumes or the clouds move in, and it gets to the point in which we can see our PM 2.5 often go to levels that are 100 times greater than our guidelines or our normal background levels. It has various compounds that are released with it. So when we have different VOCs that can be released during the burning of vegetation, we see some of that happening. Same thing as carbon monoxide, we can have higher levels there. But a lot of these ones can travel extreme distances. And we've seen some of this over the last few years where we've had fires that have stretched over countries. So we start in the west, we can impact the south, we can impact the east, or if we have fires in the east, it can impact the west and south and so forth. So one of the things we often look at is where's the impacts, where is it going, and who's going to be involved. So being aware of what's happening is a big importance to what we're looking at. One of the biggest ones that we tend to look at again is the prolonged exposure. So what happens when we have these wildfires happening over weeks or even potentially months timeframe. So we have a huge geographic region where we can have these impacts, and we really try to keep a better sense of what we're seeing and what's potentially coming in. The other one that's a little bit interesting is ozone. So ozone is unique in itself because it's not one of those compounds that's directly emitted from industry or from agricultural or from human activity. But this is one of those ones that it's formed in the atmosphere. So the release of the nitrogen oxides, release of VOCs, and mix that in with sunlight, and we can actually have ground level ozone formation. So we have that ability to see this VOCs or see the ozone being generated and see where the impacts are. We often talk with the kids about it, saying ozone is good up high but bad nearby. We need it in the upper atmosphere to protect us from UV radiation, but we don't need it down at the ground level where it can actually be very potent. oxidant for that perspective. So we often see more sunny days will in fact impact our ozone. So it normally peaks in the springtime and goes into the summer periods where we have that happening. We also have to look at the meteorology side of things for air quality. So why is it really important? Well, wind is what is really driving a lot of the pollutants. So we see that wind can carry it across cities. We can see it carry it across varied regions, and we can see where some of the impacts are from that. Rain is important for us because it helps cleanse the air. So we have the ability to wash out some of the particles that are in the atmosphere and put it down into the ground. The other thing that we worry about is inversions, temperature inversions. So this is often happening during the winter periods, often in January, February timeframe, where we have that layer of warm air that sits above the cool air at the ground, and it gets all the pollutants that are trying to rise can't get through. So they're trapped, and often they'll bounce back down towards the ground level and impact the people where we live and breathe. The other ones, and Colton raised this one as well, was the geographic issues. So if we have valleys or in areas of certain topography, we can get persistent air quality problems just generating in that area. In our modeling side of things, we often look even at street canyons. So in a dense urban area, the buildings will actually create an urban effect or a canyon effect and can help trap some of the pollutants in that area as well. The other one is, how do we measure air quality? I put the tongue in cheek at the top there that this is air quality 102. Ultimately, you could actually spend hours just talking about how air quality is monitored and all the different techniques that we have. But the important thing that we really want to hone in on is really that measurements are taken continuously. As we store these measurements or continue to gain this information from each of the stations, we look at all of the information, primarily the ozone, the NO2, and the PM2.5 that feeds into our air quality health index. From there, that's where we start to look at some of the other pieces that we can start to build a bigger picture with. So some of the sensors that we have, some satellite data, and we can start to get a better picture of a larger region. Just to put it in perspective as well from the station side for the air quality, in 2025, the Alberta Capital Airshed measured 85 instruments by minute, or it's about 44 million minutes of data stored in that time frame. So all of those pieces that we have to take into consideration. That is just the ambient side. There's also a lot of data that comes in from the emission side. So the continuous emission monitor, the CEM data, and that information can be accessed directly through the Ministry of Environment Protected Areas. So the question is, what is the Air Quality Health Index? This is one of those ones that we use continuously. Everybody looks at it from a low risk perspective. That's where we want to be, the 1 to 3. The 4 to 6, we start to look and see what's happening. We consider reducing our activity. And then once we start to move into 7, 10, and 10 plus, that's when we start to get more concerned. Where we're doing things, what's happening, how can we help protect ourselves from that perspective, and really take some of the precautions from some of the higher levels that we have. We look at some of this that when we have some of these areas, we have the ability to look across the country as well and say what's actually happening on a national level for the Air Quality Health Index. The one thing that we have, so I pull some of these from my lecture notes for the university, is that we have the Air Quality Health Index calculation. This is something that we do continuously, again, 3-hour running average, and we do the calculation to see what's happening. And so if we do have a test, this will be on the test for sure. So, some of the pieces that we have for our into the data portal. So this is once we get into our the air sheds, we have a members data portal that we can get into, and there's lots of information that's hidden behind there. So whether it's a small community that wants to see what the air quality is like, we can have various data sets built for that. We have various models prepared for something like that, comparisons, wind patterns, and of course a whole host of different displays that we have. And just for the people that are nerdy like me, we like to play with the lightsabers to see where our air quality actually stands out, from the good on the left to the bad side on the right. So ultimately, what can we do? So in protecting ourselves, some of the things that we look at is always keep informed of what's happening, some of the forecast data, reduce outdoor activity in those cases. We might want to keep our windows closed in order to keep some of the poor smoke from wildfire events out. Use air filtration as one of the important ones as well. So different air purifiers, and we even have some examples of a DIY air filters that can be built for things like this. The checking the AQHI regularly is probably the most important because it gives us the sense of what's happening in our region and gives us an ability to see what's actually happening overall, where things are coming from, where things are going, and having a better perspective of what's happening in that area helps. Ultimately, for sensitive groups, those are one of the things that we want to make sure that we're cautious about to take extra precautions. So if you have asthma or COPD, things like that, that we want to make sure you're actually well informed of what's happening. The takeaways from this is that I'm wondering how many people actually counted how many breaths they had during this presentation. But ultimately, remember, we're breathing almost a small swimming pool every day. So there's a lot of air that we take into consideration. I always had a slide for some of the presentations that there's a rule of threes, that we can go without food for 30 days. We can go without water for 3 days. But we can't go without air for more than 3 minutes. So those are some of the important things that we have to consider. Where is our air coming from and how is it impacting us? Knowledge is power ultimately in this one. Make sure that we have the tools to protect ourselves and know that we have the ability to store some of this data and pull it forward. And so we take action really by keeping informed is one of the biggest things that we have and really take the precautions from there. Just a quick one from here. I just wanted to show everyone the ability. So if you go to say just the Alberta Capital Airshed, there's a piece in here that we have about the members portal. So down at the bottom, you have the ability to get into the portal. There's a link there. You actually get into the portal from there, and we have the ability to start looking and see what information is there. So we can click, back up to here. We click into the members portal or some of the other committees that we have. And then once we're in here, we have a host of different information. So everything from our site documentations to our static reports and so forth from there. A lot of the information that we have and a lot of the pieces that we're looking at is tools, interactive tools that will give you the ability to see what's there. So we can actually have the ability to, click on the map, get information from the Air Quality Health Index or from the weather conditions that's happening. So there's lots of information that we can have and we can start to look at and see what's actually happening in the region. So did I make my time?
Thank you so much, Kevin. Yes, that was great. I hope everyone gained a better understanding why air quality is so important and some of the data we have behind the portal, if you remember. Before we hear from our last speaker, I would just like to share a little bit of information about our next webinar, which will be taking place on March 31st from 10 to 11 a.m. So this webinar is going to be showcasing our new Air Aware workshop. This workshop will help individuals and organizations understand the health impacts of wildfire smoke and how to respond effectively. It's a hands-on interactive workshop that provides practical, actionable steps to support planning and protect personal health, as well as the health of those who participants serve during wildfire smoke events. The workshop's is organized into 5 sections that build foundational knowledge about air quality, how it's monitored, impacts on health, and the role airsheds play in this process. Participants will then explore wildfire smoke in greater depth with focus on planning, preparedness, and context-specific strategies to support individuals and facilities. This workshop will also be available as a service that we can deliver to municipalities and organizations in the coming months. So we encourage you to attend that webinar on March 31st and contact us for more information about how we can deliver it in person to your organization or virtually. So stay tuned. Details will be shared on our newsletter, in social media, and website in early March. So with that, I would like to welcome our final presenter, Jocelyn Thrasher-Haug from Strathcona County. Jocelyn is a professional biologist and currently serves as the Manager of Agriculture and Environment, leading a team that supports environmental planning, wildlife and invasive plant management, and agricultural initiatives. Jocelyn is a longtime rep on the Alberta Capital Airshed board and currently serves as the president. She works to strengthen the connection between municipalities and the airshed, helping communities access high-quality air quality data and the expertise needed to make informed decisions. Welcome, Jocelyn.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to do my fabulous sharing here. You practice it, but you never know. All good. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much, Selena. I appreciated Dr. Kevin mentioning the Star Wars reference. I also have Princess Leia looking over my shoulder as I do this presentation, so we're in good hands. But to be fair, really, after hearing from Colton and Dr. Kevin, it's really obvious what the benefits are to being a member of this organization. It's just been clear to me for years, and this is why I continue promoting the membership into the Airshed and being involved as I am. It's just key to the work that I do. But today, I'm really excited to share how our best-in-class partnership is making an impact on air quality and climate resilience in my community. So we've been building this kind of on a shared foundation for years, to be fair. The roots of the trees represented here, there are environmental and our community-focused work that we're both involved in within our organizations. While the branches and the leaves really represent our unique contributions as municipal and airshed leaders. So as Selena mentioned, I'm the manager of a diverse group here in Strathcona County, from agricultural to environmental professionals. We are a mid-sized specialized municipality nestled between the city of Edmonton and Elk Island National Park in central Alberta, which you could see lies directly within the Alberta Capital Airshed. I'm also the proud president of the ACA. But the reason I'm so invested is completely selfish. Our partnership with the Airshed makes my role as a municipal environmental leader so much easier, and I want to share with you examples of this support. To be fair, if I tell you this secret, to maximum collaboration, I may lose my privileges within the Alberta Capital Airshed. So I was concerned if I should just stop the Zoom now and close up and leave, but I agreed to do this, so we'll continue on. Ooh. Doesn't want to. Ooh, there we go. Okay. So I'd like to explore what we mean by a best-in-class partnership. This concept recognizes the unique strengths and capacities of both municipalities and airsheds. It's about combining resources, applying innovative strategies, and using air quality data in meaningful ways to support place-based climate resilience, community engagement, and informed decision-making. So I'd like to explore who benefits from this kind of collaboration and how it translates into real-world impacts for both Strathcona County and the Alberta Capital Airshed. So this partnership is not just strategic, it's deeply practical, offering real advantages to both the municipality and the airshed. From operational decision-making and climate resilience planning to community outreach and data credibility, the impacts are wide-reaching and meaningful. So I'll give you a closer look at the foundational pillars that supports this best-in-class model and the tangible deliverables that have emerged from our collaboration. So as our membership has evolved into a true partnership, we've identified several key pillars that guide our collaborative work. These pillars reflect both the opportunities and challenges we've encountered over the years, and they continue to evolve as projects are realized, funding becomes available, and priorities shift. So as Colton mentioned and showed earlier, the Alberta Capital Airshed has produced a suite of climate resilience resources to help communities. We can now prepare for and respond to wildfire smoke events and poor air quality. These deliverables include educational tools like the Community Guide to Wildfire Smoke and Health, preparedness resources such as the AQHI-based response plan templates and checklists for cleaner air spaces, actionable materials including infographics, specialized preparation guidelines, and a comprehensive reference list are available. These resources are designed to support all municipalities and communities, not just Strathcona County, in understanding, preparing for, and responding to wildfire smoke events, while integrating air quality awareness into broader climate resilience planning. So the Alberta Capital Airshed has developed specialized climate resilience resources tailored to different community segments that Kevin spoke to earlier, with a strong focus on protecting children during poor air quality events. Some of the highlighted deliverables include smoke action plans and infographics to guide community response, communication pathways to share air quality information effectively, targeted messaging like keep kids safe, check the air quality, using tools such as the WeatherCount app and the Airshed's live air data map. Action plans for schools and childcare facilities based on AQHI, and guidance for monitoring and modifying activities on smoky days, especially for children with respiratory conditions. These resources aim to empower communities with practical tools and information to respond proactively to wildfire smoke and poor air quality, especially in vulnerable settings. The BIC partnership continues to expand its climate resilience resources with specialized preparation guidelines, smoke action plans, and enhanced communication tools to support community segments. This slide just reinforces the deliverables introduced earlier in the slide, emphasizing specialized preparation guidelines tailored to different community needs, smoke action plans paired with infographics for communication pathways, and a continued focus on clear and accessible messaging to help communities respond effectively. So like I said, it builds on the previous slide just by showing the depth and adaptability of the resources being developed under the climate resilience pillar. Strathcona County's climate resilience plan is actively being implemented with objectives across 4 themes: the built environment, people, health, and the economy, natural environment and agriculture, and resilient governance. The plan includes 3 built environment objectives focused on resilient infrastructure and minimizing transportation disruptions due to extreme weather, 4 socioeconomic objectives addressing health and safety, emergency preparedness, and impacts on outdoor recreation and events, 4 natural environment and agriculture objectives targeting water quality and quantity, biodiversity, invasive species, and tailored agricultural supports. And then finally, 2 governance objectives, enhancing internal coordination and centralized tracking of climate resilience and adaptation opportunities. This demonstrates the county's commitment to integrating climate resilience into multiple facets of municipal planning and operations. Theme 2 of our climate resilience plan focuses on protecting public health and safety, especially through emergency preparedness and workforce protection. The best-in-class partnership directly supports these objectives by providing actionable air quality data and collaborative tools that help us respond to climate impacts. Whether it's through enhanced monitoring, targeted education, or operational planning, this partnership helps us meet our vision for a healthier, more resilient community. With a strong foundation in strategic planning and community health protection, I'll turn to one of the most tangible aspects of the BIC partnership: air quality monitoring. We've expanded our network and leveraged innovative tools to bring real-time data directly into the hands of our residents. We have realized this through innovative sensor deployment, installing new purple air microsensors at community locations, specifically bookmobile stops. The BIC partnership continues to strengthen its air quality monitoring efforts to support real-time air quality data collection, enhance public access to localized information, which reinforces the county's commitment to proactive environmental monitoring. So the BIC partnership is also establishing collaborative relationships to integrate indoor air quality expertise with the outdoor monitoring, enhancing clean airspace initiatives. This builds on the air quality monitoring pillar by coordinating indoor and outdoor monitoring, supporting the development of clean air spaces in community settings, and strengthening partnerships to improve air quality data relevance and accessibility. This approach reflects a holistic strategy to protect public health by ensuring air quality is monitored and managed both inside and outside key community environments. The ACA partnership has targeted enhancements to its air quality data infrastructure by launching a live air data map, upgrading its website, and enabling real-time AQHI data streaming to digital displays. These improvements make air quality data more accessible and actionable for both municipal operations and community members. So this is the air outcome slide from the annual presentation to Strathcona County Council, reporting on all advances under our environmental framework, which illustrates further alignment with the BIC goals. So we are committed to improving air quality through strategic objectives, strong airshed partnerships, and data-driven decision-making. Our commitment is acknowledged under 4 strategic objectives: monitoring and managing air quality, educating and engaging citizens, and reducing emissions through energy efficiency and renewable energy. So our environmental framework year in review update demonstrates again how best-in-class partnership initiatives are embedded into long-term municipal planning. The BIC partnership is actively engaging the public through education and awareness that integrate real-time air quality data into community events and communications. Some highlights include events and programming, so participating in a variety of events that Strathcona County hosts, the AQHI Mobile Festival trailer, which displays current and forecasted AQHI for our celebrations, live air data support, joint radio ads, annual council briefings to share updates and promote stewardship, and innovative modeling. So the AQHI forecasting tools developed specifically for Strathcona County, which I'm going to show on the next slide. So these visuals on forecasting AQHI highlight how our outreach efforts come to life, whether through community events, educational materials, or interactive displays. They represent our commitment to making air quality information accessible, engaging, and actionable for residents of all ages. So these visuals, again, really highlight the work that Dr. Kevin and his team does behind the scenes, but that we can use as a municipality. This is how the science supported by the airshed is interpreted for specific business units at the municipal level. So the quadrant image on the left is the AQHI on a grid where we use all stations and purple air microsensors to blend data together to form a complete coverage of Strathcona County. This has been used to direct safe work practices for our staff. The hex image in the center is a multiple criteria decision analysis, which uses live data from Strathcona County, the location of monitoring efforts, and the location of emitters to build a hierarchy of monitoring gaps based on multiple switches, which are those options shown on the right. This data and the graphical representations support business cases for future actions, specifically around innovative equipment deployment, and support updates to our safe work practices and procedures. So our partnership also supports tangible improvements in infrastructure. The BIC partnership is developing indoor and outdoor climate sheltering procedures or practices, ensuring that our community spaces are equipped to protect residents during extreme weather and poor air quality events. The region of Waterloo and Toronto public health signage shown here, I'm hoping will soon be a model for Strathcona County. And finally, building on our infrastructure efforts, we've also begun developing and testing operational procedures for working in poor air quality conditions. These tools are essential for protecting staff and the public, and they demonstrate how air data is being directly applied to improve workplace safety and service delivery. So looking ahead, our focus is on deepening the impact of this partnership. Strathcona County will continue leveraging airshed data and expertise to advance both our environmental framework and the climate resilience plan. This includes expanding our air monitoring network through innovative technologies, integrating live AQHI data into municipal displays, and enhancing communications, especially ahead of wildfire season. We're also exploring indoor and outdoor monitoring strategies to support those clean air spaces, and will promote the BIC model to other organizations and jurisdictions, as we are doing today. So these next steps reflect our commitment to collaboration, innovation, and community well-being. So I hope our work inspires you to reach out to the ACA or your local airshed and start building capacity to support your organizations and communities. Thank you very much for sharing your Wednesday afternoon with us. And back to you, Selena.
Thank you so much, Jocelyn. I really appreciate your presentation. I hope our viewers now have some ideas on what they would like to achieve in their own municipalities. With that, it is time for our Q&A. We have about 10 minutes left. I am going to ask Colton and Kevin if you can come back on camera as well and join us. We do have 2 questions in our Q&A chat box. If anyone else has any questions, feel free to get those entered. We're going to start with this one, and I'm going to address this to Colton. Are you looking to add any additional monitoring stations? I am in Lac St. Anne County, and there are community air quality concerns with the development of a 1,200-acre gravel pit.
Okay. No, it's a great question. And, frankly, we're always looking at growing our monitoring reach based on identified gaps and available resources. I think it's good information to know that regional stations cost us about $400,000. They're expensive to operate, but there are some options for some cheaper solutions depending on the pollutant of concern, PM 2.5, for example, from a gravel pit. If it's industry, that's a concern that we often work with regulators such as Alberta Environment or Alberta Energy Regulator to see if there are obligations on the emitters to contribute to monitoring. But if they don't, and yet there are problems, we do advocate for emitters to participate in the airshed monitoring. Every now and then, none of that happens, and we end up kind of going it alone. But I will say, as an airshed, and in this case, if you're in the Lac St. Anne region, probably West Cass, we can help to understand the issue by providing good data and facilitating multi-stakeholder dialogue and engagement. And so if that is, for instance, a municipal concern, definitely contact us and see, maybe we can open up a dialogue and see if there's a way that we can support based on, perhaps putting a portable station there for a little bit to get some data collection going and be able to provide that data back to you to help facilitate that conversation.
Thank you, Colton. Great answer. Our next question, I think Kevin might be best to answer it. It says, very interesting information, especially the background on the data. This presentation has me slightly worried about all the campfire smoke I breathe every camping season. Is this something where there's data to support municipal decisions around permitting backyard fires?
Well, that's a good question. I know some of the permitting would be on a localized perspective from the communities, but definitely with some of the sensors that we have. So station-wise, we have, like from an airshed perspective, there's over 80 stations, more if we include all the industrial stations as well. But then if we couple that with a lot of the microsensors, we have about another 270 to 300. And so often we'll try and look and see from a perspective where you are in location to see where your air quality is. So one of the pieces that we built was an air quality on the grid, and to give you a better sense of where your air quality is there. I know for West Central, we also were working with some of the smaller communities, just to add on from Colton's as well, that some of the smaller communities that would not have a true station, like a proper fixed reference station or a federal reference station. So we'll use a handful of the purple air sensors, the smaller sensors, around the community to get a better sense of that. And that would also help to pick up some of the backyard fires and some of the fire effects.
Thank you, Kevin. I'm going to address this one that's in the chat. It says, I am concerned about air quality challenges coming from chemical use, specifically sprayed to flora in general, and often sprayed from above and left to settle to the plants and ground cover. Is this also measured in the AQHI? What is recommended to our residents in communities that use these chemicals? Perhaps Kevin can address that as well. Oh, you're muted, Kevin.
Sorry, I was trying to look for that question. I know from the spraying perspective, it is something that tends to get picked up. So if it's near a station that actually is monitoring certain things, like the VOCs or the total hydrocarbons, we might see some of the spraying effects. But often, a lot of the herbicides that are used, we're not really monitoring for it. It's a catch between collecting it from the water perspective and so forth to see what the impacts are.
Thank you. Yeah, it's not measured in a part of the air quality health index.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask a question of Jocelyn that I came up with. If a municipality is just beginning to work more intentionally on air quality and climate resilience, what are 1 or 2 high impact actions you would recommend they start with?
Well, I mean, the first thing is become a member of a local airshed. And I think, we've tried to hit on a few little pieces that benefits members, like the portal and all that data and access to someone like Dr. Kevin and the team to give us the science and help us translate it to our audience, whether it's the public or elected officials. Using that science, then we can kind of the first step is really develop some operational procedures like safe work practices, and then take the data and educate our community, whether it's AQHI or very localized concerns. The Airshed has our back. So I don't have air quality specialists on my team. I try and learn over the many years I've been part of the Airshed, but I know I've got that expertise to help me address concerns within the community. So just a couple pieces there for sure that I would recommend.
Thanks, Jocelyn. I just want to add to that as well. You mentioned work with your local airshed. So as we know, we have attendees from all across the province joining us today. There are 10 airsheds across the province. If you want to learn more about your local airshed, I encourage you to visit Alberta Airsheds Council. You can visit their website to find the airshed that your community is within. Let's see, next questions. Okay, how are airsheds funded? I'm going to turn that one to Colton, actually.
Sure thing. Yeah, so our funding comes from a number of sources, and each airshed is a little bit different. So I'm speaking on behalf of ACA and Westcast here. But we receive government funding from grants, particularly from the government of Alberta. But we also have membership fees, and so we have different types of members. We have municipal members, we have industry members who a lot of their funding calculations are based on how much emissions they're actually putting into the air, as well as how many different types of facilities they have. And then we also have some operating contracts with a couple different organizations throughout the regions that help to fund stations, which would otherwise go unfunded because there's just a lot of need, but relatively unfunded pressures in those areas. So yeah, membership and grants and municipal membership as well.
Thank you, Colton.
Yeah.
There's another question. Can ACA present to our municipal council? I'm going to answer that one. The answer is yes, because Colton and I are going to be rolling out some presentations to council over the next few months. If you're one of our member organizations, again, feel free to reach out to us or we will be connecting with you. And if your municipality is not a member of ACA or Westcast, but you're interested in it, we are happy to come out and present to you as well. We've got two more questions. One is on, other than wildfires, do we experience poor air quality? Maybe I'll ask Kevin that, and we might wrap up with that actually, because we got 2 minutes left.
Definitely. When we see some of the events that happen, in particular, say nitrogen dioxide. Nitrogen dioxide forms a U-shaped graph over the year. So we have high readings in the wintertime, like when it's cold, and low during the summer times. And during those periods, we'll get experiencing of the inversion events. So often if we have a lot of transportation, people are idling their cars, which they shouldn't be. They end up having that higher plume of nitrogen in the atmosphere, and we tend to actually see some of the AQHI go up from there. So we'll actually go up into the yellow to even into the red zone in the 7 to 8 range, just because of the inversions that we have. And it's not from wildfires; it's from us.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. We did see some of that recently in Edmonton. One final quick question, and I need you to answer it briefly. How did the Alberta Airshed model start? Who wants to take that one? Kevin, Colton? Colton, yes.
Sure, I'll jump on that really quick. Just because we've got a quick moment left. Actually, if you go to westcast.ca, wcas.ca, which I'll just open up here, on our homepage, you'll be able to access this really great comic book that was produced for our 30th anniversary. Westcast was Alberta's first airshed, started 30 years ago, but this would be our 31st year. But yeah, this nice little document outlines the opening story of how the airshed model came to be. It was really close to Brazeau County with the lodgepole blowout in 1983, and then how the public, government, and industry came together to form the airshed, or Alberta's first airshed, which was kind of the genesis of the airshed model that now spans across the entire province. So definitely encourage you to check out the homepage, wcas.ca, and take some time to go through this really quick.
Thank you so much, Colton. That's a perfect answer. So with that, we are at the end of our time. As mentioned earlier, in the coming days, you will be able to find the recording of our webinar on our website, and we will also send it out via email to everyone who registered today. We really hope we will see you at our webinar on March 31st. Please keep an eye on our newsletters and social media for that announcement, as well as for topics and registration for additional webinars we're hosting in 2026. Thank you so much to Colton, Kevin, and Jocelyn for your excellent presentations, for our viewers with your questions, and we thank everyone who joined us today. I hope you found the session informative and that you're able to apply what was shared. So thank you again for joining us. Let us know if you have any questions. Have a great day.
Thanks so much.